The fruit from here is just so superior.
Continuing on with my tour of Coombsville, the Coombsville AVA in Napa Valley, I'm here with Tim Goodwin, and Tim is the general manager at Scalon Cellars here, literally right on the Napa River. How you doing, Tim?
Good. It's a beautiful day. It's raining. We need it.
Yeah, that's the thing about winter in Napa, winter in California. Yeah. It does get that way. So for tourists, all the more reason to be in a tasting room.
Exactly. Come on down.
So this is your tasting room in a very interesting former, was this a mill? What was this at one time?
It's a tannery.
Tannery.
It's called the Sawyer Tannery. And it's right on the Napa River. And it was the only tannery west of the Mississippi.
Really?
And it was built in the 1800s, and I think they stopped using it in like 1980 something.
So, as I said, you're the general manager here. Who are the owners of Scalon?
The owners are two gentlemen. One is Jesus Espinoza. He's also the vineyard manager up at Caldwell. And Cruz Calderon. And Cruz owns a construction company that builds wineries and caves, and he's touched over 200 caves here in the valley. He's quite proficient. He's built everything here in the tasting room.
Well, this is a great tasting room. You know, looking at this older structure outside, this giant water tower, which is how I located you, to the inside, it's beautiful in here and very unique. You've got separate tasting rooms, cool barn doors, all kind of a white theme. Very, very nice. My compliments.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was fun.
Is there a purpose for the horse on the logo?
When they started I've been with them since they started.
Which goes back to?
For me, it was 2012, I think. They started in 2010. But I came in 2012, and I came up with the horse because I was trying to look for something that tied them together, you know, something historic or ethnic or whatever. And the horse came up because they both owned horses. And Cruz's father was part of the horse community in Mexico, rodeos and things like that. And Jesus is a proficient rider. He has a farm down in Mexico in Michoacan. They used to have horses up here, and a neighbor complained, and they had to get rid of them.
So I always like to ask people about their wine journey. How were you bitten by the bug? How did you decide you wanted to be in this business?
Drinking.
Respectable.
Oddly enough, I've traveled the world most of my life working. And there was a gentleman early on that was working with me. And he had worked at Chateau Saint Jean up in Sonoma. And we had nothing to do with wine. This was completely different business. But he loved wine, and he knew wine, and I didn't. And I was in my late 20s. So like I said, we traveled a lot. And every time we went to a new city or a new restaurant, the game was to get a wine that we'd never tried before. And mostly local. Try to get as much local wine as you can. And my wife and I still do that today.
That's fun.
Yeah. We've traveled the world several times.
What was your start, though, specifically in the wine business?
In the wine business? Everything here has a story. With John Caldwell. I was with John doing a tasting, and we got talking, and he was interested in what I did, and he said to me he wanted to put together a wine club, but he didn't want a wine club, and he didn't want this, and so. And I had never done anything like this before, but branding's branding, and It's pretty straightforward. So it was a matter of just finding out what it was about him that was special, and it turned out it was John Caldwell. He was the guy that was special. And we built this wine club for him called the John Caldwell Society of Smugglers.
Which I love. That's so great.
He's pretty special. He's one of a kind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's got a reputation. It's earned. No matter what you hear.
Sure.
It's all earned. And our vineyard is right next to his, up on the hill.
Sure.
And John couldn't be more gracious with us. And it's been a lot of fun over the years. He pulls up on his ATV.
Yes.
In the middle of a tasting or something, or, you're up there with clients, and he just comes up, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Sits down, has a glass with you. And that's how I got started in this business, because John introduced me to somebody else, because I had sold my company and I had nothing to do. And I was looking for something that interests me, and this did. So he introduced me to somebody else, and somebody else, it just became a thing. And then these guys came along through John, and John asked me if I'd help them. And I said, sure. And I talked to the guys. I said, I'll help you for about a year to put this all together and make it go for you. And they agreed to that, except at the end of the year, they needed a lot more help because they were being quite successsul. And I ended up staying, and here I am today.
And being in the Coombsville AVA is a real big deal. What was it, 2011? It was
something
like that.
So much wine was coming from here before that, and wines people didn't know, Insignia, Paulmeyer, all of these great wines were coming out of basically Caldwell's Hill and some other assorted vineyards here, and the fruit from here is just so superior. It was mostly a growing region where people grew the grapes and sold them off to other companies. But when it started getting, identified as, wait a minute, this is coming from this area, people got serious about it. And people like John and several other people here in Coombsville got together and put together the AVA.
What is it for you that makes Coombsville wines special?
Oh, without a question, it's the soil, the terroir. The volcanic soils, it's the minerality is distinctive. I mean, you can go down the street 6 miles and your wine's going to taste different than it does here in Coombsville. And it's such a beautiful wine that comes from here. And it should be recognized, and people have come to understand what it is, and they seek it out now, which is great.
How would you describe the Coombsville AVA?
One big rock. No, it's volcanic, and again, that's what makes it special. It has that minerality. And you can taste it in the wines. And with that soil being what it is or isn't, like our vineyard and most of Caldwell and several others right there, Porter and so on, we don't have topsoil.
Interesting.
And where down on the valley you have all this silt that came from a volcano years and years and years ago. And it's just beautiful. That's how Napa got started, is that's volcano. But when that happened, it stripped the topsoil, and there's no way to get that back. So growers like to grow up there. It's difficult. There's a lot of challenges to growing there without the topsoil.
What kind of challenges other
Well,
than
just
topsoil?
water, feeding, them getting nutrients, because there's so much rock there. I mean, it's still, we swear the earth keeps moving up there, because 2 times a year, Jesus sends guys down through the vineyard to clear out the rocks that have surfaced over the year. So something's moving somewhere. And if you stick a shovel into the ground up there, it's rock.
No kidding. Wow.
And there's a lot of lava rock up there. So that's what gives the minerality, and the soils are very unique, and it shows in the wine.
Hard-working fruit is another way, I guess, maybe you could say it, huh? Because of how these vineyards have to really tough it out.
I describe it as the vines up there are like kids.
Yeah.
You know, they when they go to sleep and when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is look for food. You know, and when they're looking for food, they're pulling all this minerality, and that's how you get layers. In some wines from the floor, it's one layer of fruit. And by the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. But in this area that we're talking about, no, you get layers of fruit. And winemakers love that because it challenges them, and it's fun to make, and it's fun to drink.
What makes you crazy about the wine business? And that could be positive and it could be negative.
What makes me crazy?
How much time do I have?
Yeah, really. It's a very unique business. It's one of the few businesses that you start it, if you start it from the beginning and you plant a vine, you're waiting 7 years before you can use it. Now, if you do a couple 100 acres, that's a hell of an investment that just sits there and not being used. But then when you do get to use it, you pick your grapes and you go through the process, and they sit in the barrels, and comes for 2 years, 2 more years, so that's 9 years. And then most guys wait a year to 2 years before they start to show it, after when it finally reaches where it's supposed to, after it's in the bottle. We're 10 years now. I mean, think about the investment. And you have to be a magician, some guy with a crystal ball, to look into the future and pray to God there's no pandemics, that there's no fires, that we get rain, all those things, because one thing we're short on here is water.
Yeah. If you could change something about the wine business, what would you change?
Wow. The wine business, I mean, I have to say that the people in this valley are just incredible people. And I've never seen a business, and I'm talking the whole wine business, where people work so closely together. And like, because we're next to Caldwell, I'll say that again, and Porter, and like I say, a few others, you're friends. And you help each other. And there's no animosity between you. Occasionally there's a little dispute, but where isn't there? But where I'm going with this, where what hurts the wine business is outside of here, is state regulations and shipping, the cost of shipping. The cost of shipping today is horrible. But there's all kinds of rules and regulations that are being put into place or have been put into place. And there's a huge conglomerate of people working to get a lot of that, not a lot of it, but get some of that erased on a national level. But it's the thing that makes me crazy, is that after 10 years of working and investment, because land isn't cheap here, and labor isn't cheap, and water isn't cheap, all of those things, and the government works against you. It's just difficult. And I understand they want to get their taxes, they want to get their piece, but they're doing it on alcohol, and it's old rules and regulations from Prohibition that still lay over in a lot of these states. Religion, and so all kinds of things come into play with this, but it needs to be fixed.
For the tasting room here, obviously this is not a tasting room where people can just wander in, I assume. This is by appointment?
No, this is by appointment only.
Great. And for our listeners to learn about Scalon online, what's your website?
ScalonCellars.com, which is SCALON Cellars.com.
I could do that because I could see it behind you. That way I can say it and not mispronounce it.
Right.
It's very helpful to have a giant cue card. I appreciate you putting that up there for me tonight. Tim, this has been a lot of fun. You're an excellent interview, and you're real easy to talk to. Thanks for taking the time, and wish you guys good luck at the premiere, and continued luck with the Coombsville AVA. Please keep up the great work.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time of coming here. Say hi to all the people in Milwaukee.